Muslim nations, different Muslim groups need to be united and need to foster unity in a way that the God promises that if you maintain that unity among Muslim nations, and if you foster that unity, it will lead to the honor be given and be bestowed by God upon you. You can remove all of the obstacles, you can defeat all of the enemies, and the wisdom by Almighty God will lead you and will guide you. It means that all of the rules of the universe will work for the sake of your improvement and progress. This is the logic specified and laid out by the Holy Quran. In contrast, and in the other side, there is the policy of Islam's enemies, hegemonic powers and aggressors of the world. Their policy is to sow discord and to govern. The basis of their work is to plant discord. This policy of sowing discord is followed in Islamic countries with a variety of means and tactics, and until now they have not given up on that policy, and this results in that the souls and the hearts of Islamic countries become affected and become impacted. But today, Muslims are awakened. Muslim nations are awakened today. I'm telling you that today is the day that the Islamic Ummah is able to overcome this tactic by the enemies of Islam. I'm telling you that the enemy of the Islamic Republic of Iran and the enemy of the Iranian nation is the enemy of the Palestinian nation, is the enemy of the Lebanese nation, and is the enemy of the Iraqi nation and the Egyptian nation as well. And that enemy is the enemy of the Syrian nation, Yemeni nation too. That's the same enemy. The enemy is the same. Their ways, their tactics are different in various countries. In one place they use psychological war. In another place they use economic pressure. In another place they rain down heavy bombs. In another place they use weapons, and in some other places they use smiles to follow and to further that policy. But they have the same operating room. The order is issued from one place, and that order is issued from the same place to attack Islamic nations and Islamic countries. If this policy is successful in country, and it means if it leads to the dominance by those enemies of that country, if they feel comfortable that that policy works, they switch to another country to further that policy. Nations, Muslim nations, should not allow that. If any nation would like to prevent a kind of crippling siege by the enemy, they need to be vigilant, and they need to stay vigilant and careful if they see, and when they see that the enemy is pursuing their policy in one nation, paying solidarity with that nation who is under oppression, help that nation, cooperate with that nation, so that the enemy will not succeed in that country or place. If the enemy manages to pursue and materialize their policy in that place, they will switch to another country country to do so. For many years, Muslims have neglected from this truth and fact, and we have seen the consequences. Today, we need to be aware, and we need not to neglect. We need to fasten the belt of defense, freedom-seeking, dignity from Afghanistan to Yemen, from Iran to Gaza and Lebanon, in all of the Islamic world. We need to fasten that defending belt. This is the first issue I wanted to talk to you today. Today, the majority of my speech will be addressed to our Palestinian and Lebanese brothers. I'm going to mention them in the next sermon. I talked about the first issue. The second is the rules, the defending rules set by Quran is decisive for us. It has taken the decision for us, as well as our own constitution, Iran's constitution, and also international law. These law and these regulations, international law, that in their drawing up, we were not involved. But even in those laws and in those regulations, the thing I would like to say is the necessities and must be obeyed, and that is, any nation has the right to defend its soil, its houses, its country, its interests. They have the right to defend that in the face of aggressors. This means that the meaning of this is that the Palestinian nation has the right to, in the face of the enemy that has usurped its soil, occupied its soil and house, destroyed their farmland, and destroyed their lives, they have the right to stand up against that. The Palestinian nation has this right. This is the firm logic that international law even today approves of that. Palestine belongs to Palestinians. And where do these occupiers come from? The Palestinian nation has this right to stand up against them, standing up to them. And no trial, no authority, no international organization that do not have the right to object Palestinian people that why they are standing up to the Israeli regime, the occupying Israeli regime. They don't have this right to do so. And those who are supporting and helping the Palestinian nation and those who are fulfilling their duties in this regard, nobody, based on no international law, has the right to object and protest the Lebanese that why you are defending Gaza, why you are defending Palestinian cause. That's their duty. They should do that. This is the Islamic teaching and Islamic rule, and that's based on logic, and that's based on international law and international regulation. Palestinians are defending their own soil and their own land, and their defense is legitimate. Helping them is legitimate as well. Therefore, all of these attacks and Al-Aqsa flood operation that October last year was carried out, that was a correct move, logical move based on international law, and Palestinians had the right to do so. full support of the Lebanese for Palestinians is also according to that's logical, that's legal, and that's legitimate, and nobody has the right to protest that and to criticize them. That why you're entering the field and why you are supporting them. The extraordinary move by our armed forces in some nights was totally legal and legitimate. The move taken by our armed forces was the least punishment for the occupying Zionist regime. In the face of the crimes, the unbelievable crimes committed by that regime, the bloodthirsty regime, the wolfish regime, this rabid dog, which is the crony of Israel in the region. The Islamic Republic will fulfill any duty has in this regard, will fulfill the duties firmly. In fulfillment of this duty, we neither hesitate nor rush. Pay attention. We neither hesitate, we will not give up, but we will not rush at the same time. First, and the target audience of that sermon is our Arab brothers in regional countries, so I will deliver the sermon in Arabic language. In the name of God.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أستغفره وأتوكل عليه وأصلي وأسلم الرسول الأعظم سيدنا محمد المصطفى وآله الطاهرين وسيما عليا أمير المؤمنين وحبيبته الزهراء المرضية الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. متشكر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين أحمده وأستعينه وأستغفره وأتوكل عليه وأصلي وأسلم على حبيبه الرسول الأعظم
ask him to send blessings and greetings upon his beloved, the great messenger, our master, and Prophet Muhammad al-Mustafa,
وحبيبته
and
الزهراء
especially
المرضية
Ali, Amir al-Mu'mineen,
وحسن
and his beloved
والحسين
Wahda
سيدي شباب
al-Farzina,
أهل
and
الجنة
Hassan and Hussein, the masters of the
وحبيبة
youth of
الحسين
paradise,
زين
and
العابدين
Ali
افتخاري
ibn al-Hussein,
بشخصية
Zayn
محمد بن
al-Abidin,
علي باقر
and Muhammad
بالأولين
ibn Ali
والآخرين
al-Baqir,
وجعفر بن
upon
محمد
Ja'far ibn
الصادق
Muhammad al-Sadiq,
وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم وعلي بن موسى
Ja'far
الرضا
ibn Ali ibn
وإدمان علي
al-Rida,
الجواد
Muhammad, the son of
علي بن
Ali
محمد
al-Jawad,
الهادي
Ali ibn Muhammad
الحسن بن
al-Hadi,
علي الزكي
Al-Hasan
العسكري
ibn Ali
والحجة بن
al-Zaki
الحسن
al-Askari,
القائم
and
المهدي
Hujjat al-Qa'im
صلوات الله
al-Mahdi.
عليهم أجمعين وأسلم على صحبه المنتجبين ومن
Also
تبعهم
to
خطاب
their
إحسان
companions
وجههم
and
إلى
those
يوم
who follow them
الدين
in
وعلى
virtue
حماة
unto the day of
المستضعفين
judgment,
وولاة
and the
المؤمنين
supporters of those who were
ارتأيت
suppressed
إلى الشعبين
and upon
العزيزين
the guardians of the
أن
believers.
يكون تكريم أخي
I believe it is necessary
وعزيزي
to honor my brother and my beloved
ومبعث افتخاري
and the source of my pride
والشخصية المحبوبة في
and the
العالم
beloved
الإسلامي
personality in the Islamic world,
واللسان البليغ
the
لشعوب
great
المنطقة
speaker to the people of the region,
ودرة لبنان الساطعة
the
سماحة
shining
السيد
jewel
حسن
of
نصر
Lebanon,
الله
His Eminence Sayyid
رضوان
Hassan
الله تعالى
Nasrallah.
عليه
May God
في
be
صلاة
pleased with him.
جمعة طهران
In these Friday
وسأتطرق
prayers in
أيضا
Tehran,
لبعض النقاط.
I will also refer
هذا
to a few
الخطاب
points. This speech
موجه للأمة
is
الإسلامية
directed to
جمعاء
the Islamic Ummah
إلا
as a whole.
أنه
However,
موجه بشكل خاص
it is directed
إلى الشعبين العزيزين
specifically to the two
اللبناني
beloved peoples of
والفلسطيني.
Lebanon and
نحن
Palestine.
جميعا مصابون
We are all
ومكلومون
in a state of pain
بشهادة السيد العزيز.
and mourning the martyrdom of our dear
إنه
Sayyid.
لفقدان كبير
This is a big loss,
ولقد أفجعنا
and
بكل معنى الكلمة
it has indeed made us
غير أن
mourn.
عزاءنا
However,
لا يعني
our mourning
الاكتئاب
does not
واليأس
mean
والاضطراب
losing hope.
بل هو من سنخ عزائنا
It is the
على
same
سيد الشهداء
nature of our mournings for the
الحسين بن
master of
علي
the
عليه
Martyrs,
السلام
Hussein ibn Ali, may peace be
يبعث
upon him.
الحياة
It revives
ويلهم الدروس
life, it inspires,
ويوقد العزائم ويضخ الآمال.
and it also brings up hope.
لقد غادرنا السيد حسن نصر
Sayyid
الله
Hassan
بجسده
Nasrallah is no longer with us physically.
لكن شخصيته الحقيقية
However, his
روحه
real
ونهجه
self, his spirit, his
وصوته
path,
الصادح
and his
ستبقى
reverent voice
حاضرة فينا
will
أبدا.
continue to be with us forever.
لقد كان الراية الرفيعة
He was
للمقاومة
the highly raised
ضد
flag of the
الشياطين
resistance against
الجائرين
the
والناهبين.
tyrannical, plundering devils.
وكان اللسان البليغ
He
للمظلومين
was the articulate voice
والمدافع
and
الشجاع عنهم
supporter of the
كما
oppressed
كان
and the great defender
للمناضلين
of the
على
oppressed.
طريق الحق سندا
He was also a pillar
ومشجعا.
of support for those who fought on the path
لقد
of righteousness
تخطى
and encouraged them.
نطاق شعبيته
His popularity
وتأثيره حدود
and his
لبنان
influence
وإيران
extended beyond the
والبلدان
borders of
العربية.
Lebanon, Iran, and the Arab countries.
وستعزز
And
شهادته
his
الآن
martyrdom
مدى هذا
now
التأثير.
will further increase this
إن
influence.
أهم رسائله قولا وعملا
His most
في
important
حياته
message in
الدنيوية
words and
لكم
deeds in his worldly life to you, the loyal people of Lebanon, was not to lose hope or become distraught over the loss of prominent figures like Imam Musa al-Sadr and Sayyid Abbas al-Musawi, and for your march, for your struggle not to be impacted, for your efforts not to weaken, and to enhance your cohesiveness, and to stand up to the aggressive enemy and to thwart his plans by strengthening your faith and your reliance on God by the people, the loyal people of Lebanon, the youth of Hezbollah, the exuberant, enthusiastic youth of Hezbollah and Amal. This was also the request of our Sayyid Damati, the request to his people and the resistance front and the Islamic Ummah as a whole. The cowardly enemy, as it was unable to deal a real strike against the cohesive structure of Hezbollah, Hamas, or the Islamic Jihad, and other jihadi organizations that practice jihad in the cause of God, it resorted to speaking about victory via assassination, destruction, bombardment, the killing of civilians, and to cause grief to them. However, what is the result? What is the result? This behavior led to the accumulation of anger and further increasing the motivation of resistance, and more men and leaders and more sacrifices, and further strengthening the chokehold on the bloody wolf, and so hence eliminating this disgraceful entity from existence, God willing. Vulnerable people, the grieving hearts find solace in the remembrance of God and seeking His help. The destruction will be repaired, and your patience and steadfastness will give you honor and dignity. For 30 years, our dear Sayyid was leading a difficult battle. He raised Hezbollah step by step, like a seed that sends forth its fruit. Then it grows and becomes stout, standing firmly on its stem, impressing the soil, so that he may enrage the faithless. Allah has promised those of them who have faith and do righteous deeds forgiveness and a great reward. With Sayyid's planning, Hezbollah grew phase by phase, with patience and in a logical, natural manner. It showed the impact of its existence to its enemies in various stages by pushing back the Zionist regime, the Zionist enemy. It gives its fruit every season by the leaf of its God. Hezbollah is indeed a blessed tree. Hezbollah and its heroic Parsi leader They are the essence of Lebanon's historic virtues and identity. We Iranians have gotten to know for a long time Lebanon and its merits. The ulama from Lebanon contributed with their education to Lebanon. The Safavi era during the 8th, 10th, and 11th centuries, the Sarbadan Safavid governments. This includes Muhammad ibn Makki al-Alami al-Habib and Ali ibn Abd al-Al al-Karaki and Zain al-Din al-Amali, the martyr, and Hussein ibn Abd al-Samad al-Amali and his son Muhammad Baha al-Din, who was known as Sheikh Bahai, along with other religious and scholarly figures. It is our duty and responsibility of all Muslims to remain to pay our debt to the wounded, bloodied Lebanon. It's the duty of all Muslims. Hezbollah and the martyrs paid by defending Gaza and by practicing jihad for the Al-Aqsa Mosque and by striking a blow to the usurping, cruel entity they have provided a vital service to the entire region and the Islamic world as a whole. America and its branches focusing on preserving the security of the usurping entity is nothing but a cover for their policy of transforming the entity into a tool for taking control of all of the natural resources in this region and using it.
هدف هؤلاء تحويل هذا الكيان إلى بوابة لتسطير الطاقة من المنطقة إلى بلاد الغرب باستيراد البضائع والتقانة من الغرب إلى المنطقة، وهذا يعني ضمان وجود المغتصب وجعل المنطقة بأجمعها تابعة له. والسلوك السفاح والوقح لهذا الكيان تجاه المناضلين ناجم عن الطمع بتحقيق هذا الهدف. هذا الواقع يبين لنا أن كل ضربة ينزلها أي شخص وأي مجموعة بهذا الكيان إنما هي خدمة للمنطقة بأجمعها بل لكل الإنسانية. لا ريب في أن أحلام الصهاينة
no doubt that the Zionists and the Americans, they are thinking or they are dreaming. This will all be an unattainable delusion. The entity is that evil tree which was uprooted from the ground, and according to God's true words, lacks any stability. This malicious regime has no roots. It is fake, unstable. It has preserved itself with difficulty via American support, so it will not be able to remain, God willing. The clear proof of this is that it spent billions of dollars in Gaza and Lebanon 1 year, and different forms of aid reached it from America and a number of Western countries. And it has been brought defeat when confronting a few thousand of mujahideen on the path of God who are under attack and not allowed to receive any aid from abroad. Their only achievement was the bombing of homes, schools, hospitals, and also places where civilians were gathered. Today, the Zionist criminal gang, they have also reached this conclusion, which is that they will not achieve victory in any way whatsoever against Hamas and Hezbollah. You, the resilient people, the resistance fighters in Lebanon and Palestine, those courageous people who are carrying out this struggle, we patient, loyal people, know that these martyrdoms and blood will not shake your determination, but rather will make you more steadfast. In Islamic Iran, during 3 months of the summer of the year 60 in the Hijra calendar, tens of our prominent figures were assassinated, unique figures, including a great figure like Sayyid Muhammad Beheshti, and a president like Raja'i, and a prime minister like Bahonar, and scholars like Ayatollah Madani and Quddusi and Hashim Najat and others like them. Each one of them was a pillar of the revolution, be it at the national or local level, and losing them was not easy. However, the march of the revolution did not stop. It did not retreat. Rather, it intensified. And today, the resistance in the region will not back down after the martyrdom of its men. And today, the resistance in the region will not back down with the martyrdom of its men. And victory will be an ally of the resistance. The resistance in Gaza has captured the world's attention and brought honor to Islam. In Gaza, Islam has stood firm against all forms of evil and crime. And there is no one who cannot but applaud the steadfastness and curse the ruthless, bloodthirsty enemy. Al-Aqsa flood and the year-long resistance of Gaza and Lebanon have brought the usurping entity to a point where its main concern is to preserve its existence. And it is the same concern that the Zionist, or that this entity had in the early years of its cursed work. This means that the jihad of the fighters of Palestine and Lebanon has taken the Zionist entity 70 years back. And this means that the jihad of the fighters of Palestine and Lebanon has returned the Zionist entity 70 years back. The main factor of war and lack of security and backwardness in this region is the existence of the Zionist entity and the presence of states that claim to seek peace and security in the region. The main problem in the region is foreign interference. The regional countries are capable of establishing peace and security and achieving this great goal, which saves the people, requires pursuing efforts by the peoples and the governments of the region. And God is with those who tread this path. And Allah is indeed able to help. May God's greetings and peace be upon the martyred leader, Nasrallah, and the martyred hero, Haniya, and the honorable commander, Lieutenant General Qasim Soleimani. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, if the victory from God comes from the conquest and we see people embracing the region of God, then praise God and ask His forgiveness. He grant His mercy and may peace be upon you all.
السلام عليك يا روح الله أيها العبد الصالح المطيع لله ولرسوله وللأئمة المعصومين عليهم السلام.
Well, that was the speech given by the leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Khamenei. People have been waiting for this speech since 5:30 at the Musalla Grand Mosque of Tehran.
So that's for the first time. Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader as he called, came out from the safe house secure location. And the key takeaways from this sermon that was basically leading the Friday prayers, that also he's done for the first time in 5 years with such public. The words were very clear, few and very crisp, which was against Israel, as it says that this was a Zionist regime and there's a resistance against the Zionist regime of Israel, and then went on to add that Lebanon, Gaza, Hezbollah, Hamas, they are being targeted, and Israel basically is the enemy of Islam and enemy of the Islamic nations, and therefore we've all come together this time to not only grieve for Hassan Nasrallah's killing, the Hezbollah chief who was killed in the Israeli strike, whose funeral is also expected today in just a short while. But before that funeral, there was this commemoration ceremony that will now happen. And why Nasrallah, who's died in Lebanon, who was a Hezbollah leader, is being mourned by Ali Khamenei, who's the supreme leader, as he calls it, for Iran, is because there has been, for the longest time, a realization that all of these, whether Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, have a certain backing of Tehran, of Iran, of its supreme leadership. And that's the reason you see how Iran has directly got involved. So there were clearly hundreds and thousands of people who have gathered on the streets. And as Ali Khamenei was speaking, you could see people cheering for him, as in when he mentioned specifically about the fight and the resistance. And he says that because what Israel has done is attacking from Lebanon, Gaza and other Islamic nations as well, therefore all of us unite today to ensure that even Israel is taught a lesson. He was leading a prayer at the Imam Khamenei Grand Musalla Mosque, and this also comes after Iran officially declared a war, not via proxies, but directly charging with over 100, 200 missiles toward Israel. You can see people crying in tears. And remember, Ali Khamenei is not just any leader heading a state. He wields the highest authority in Iran, and sometimes beyond Iran as well. And that's why the man you're listening to in many ways becomes the arch rival to the United States of America. We are looking at two big powers about how this war really heads out. Look at the number of people. Women, men, children, all who have gathered on the streets of Tehran. And because not only was he leading the Friday prayers, but in central Tehran, this was also a show of strength. You can see arrangements have been made and how people in large numbers have gathered, the streets are packed. this was also to show support as much for Ali Khamenei and as much to what the strategy will be. So the focus was clear. It was charging at Israel, saying that it's attacking people, it's attacking Muslims across the world, specifically the Middle East and West Asia. And therefore, Ali Khamenei says, and we'll play out some of those excerpts again for you, that this is a resistance and a fight that people of Gaza specifically and Lebanon, who have a fight to defend their land, are doing. Also remember that in the past few days and months, you must have heard a lot about Iran's Revolutionary Guards Corps. Now, those Revolutionary Guards, in fact, respond to and report to Ali Khamenei. So it's not that they are acting on its own, it's all under supervision of what his commands are. 85 years of age, senior most, but also in many ways the strongest authority currently that Iran or even possibly this part of the Islamic nations has. Remember that till now it was Iran calling the shots via the 3H, as I have been saying. The 3H are Houthis in Yemen and the Red Sea, Hezbollah in Lebanon and nearby areas, and Hamas in Gaza. While they were acting differently and independently, they were under the supervision and in many ways support and backed with ammunition and training by Iran. But this time, after Hezbollah chief Nasrallah's killing and with speculation that there's been another strike in Beirut by Israel, and in that strike, even the next in command, Hashim Saifuddin, who was supposed to be taking over after Nasrallah, has also been killed. Now, we're waiting for, of course, a speculation on that. There's no clarity. But there's definitely been a possible strike in which Hezbollah leaders, second in command, were meeting. And could also Saifuddin have been in that meeting. So a lot is happening, remember, in the West Asia region that we are looking at. But it's not just about Iran, which is largely a Shia country, but how do other nations respond? Joining me, our Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan for the latest on that. Geeta, Ali Khamenei did not disappoint. The words were very clear, very direct and crisp. It was charging at Israel. Tell us about some of the key takeaways and how important is Ali Khamenei addressing this specific congregation, knowing fairly well, not just Israel, but the whole world is watching this right now.
Well, very important because this is the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah's address to not just his nation, but to the Muslim world largely, trying to put out the message very strongly as to where Iran stands and what is to happen with Israel. Direct threats to Iran, not to Israel, not just in terms of the country and what is going to happen to Israel, but specific threat to Netanyahu, clearly saying that there is going to be yet another attempt, assassination attempt against the Israeli premier. That is a very, very stern, not just warning, but a threat coming in from Iran, from the Ayatollah himself. But on the other hand, he's spoken about how there is going to be retaliation, which means, Pooja, this is not the only attack that we'd be witnessing from the Iranian side. This is maybe only the beginning also, because the Israelis have said that they are going to retaliate to the attack that took place, which damaged the military base and Mossad headquarters in Israel. There is going to be retaliation. So expect this entire war between Iran and Israel now to only escalate with the kind of messaging that we're seeing from the Supreme Leader. But also, the strongest and the biggest takeaway from this is how the Ayatollah has come out and tried to unite the Muslim world. The problem with the Muslim world is also the factions that they're divided in the Shia-Sunni conflict.
Correct.
But for him to come out and say that the Muslims have to unite.
And can that turn the tables? Because, Geeta, stay on with me. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, extremely prosperous right now in the global order, but looking at reforms, have actually distanced themselves from this conflict. In fact, remember Saudi Arabia's